The trip from my place to Seattle was honestly pretty boring. The morning before, or that morning, I went to a wedding, and it was a older couple. They're both in their late 60s, and they've both been married before, and you know, they just seemed very happy to be together. And so I went to the wedding, came back, and prepared myself for the rest of the day. Packed everything. My car, into my car, my tripod, everything. I specially prepared my suitcase so that I had enough. And at Wendy's, they were handing out candies because it turns out the regional representative was there, and he was making sure everything was ship-shape and ready to go. By the time I got there, I found out something rather interesting. I forgot to pack my suitcase. So, I got there and I found out I didn't have a suitcase. So I realized the next few days I was going to come in with the clothes I was wearing. Kind of annoying, but I could do it. Okay. The next day was church, and I just went to church, had the sacrament, and left. Kind of weirded people out because I was wearing just some kind of Hawaiian clothes. But I found some nice flowers, so I thought you might enjoy those. As soon as the first thing I did was I got to the Living Computer Museum. I got onto a taxi. The guy didn't know where it was, but I was like, okay, just follow this route, follow this route. Okay, there it is. And I paid him and got ready, and as soon as I got there, I found out there was a computer space at the Living Computer Museum here. Check it out. This is one of the very first video game arcade video games ever made, which makes it one of the very first video games ever made. That's huge. Also, it's a very boring game, if I were to be honest. And I looked around at the stairs and looked very carefully at this. End Hello World, fourth Hello World. Get it? It's code. And then I saw this, which I've seen at many shows. Here, I'll show you the little placard. Keith Hayes created a reliable translation of the original, substituting modern solid-state electronics for mechanical relays. Not bad, huh? And then I took a picture of some books, and I thought, someday I'm going to be on this shelf. Someday, you know, my books are going to be right next to all those books. And the reason why I took a picture of that area is those happen to be friends of mine who I look up to. So I thought that was really important. And this was pretty much my view for the rest of the day, for like 4 hours, as I formatted video from my 360 camera and just kind of sat there and edited it together and videoed. It was very nice. I got really, really, really bored. So I ended up playing Computer Space, and this is the best shot I could take. You can actually see my hand and reflection, but it plays like asteroids, honestly. Just kind of a slower asteroids. That's the best I can describe it as. And you're going, instead of against asteroids, you're going against spaceships that are moving around randomly. Then I saw some some arcade stuff, so I decided to take a picture. I have no idea how much the joystick costs. And then I saw some books, and the reason why I'm looking at some of these books is this book. I actually asked, I was like, why is it called Ada? And they were like, oh, because it's a file, or it's named after Ada Lovelace, who's right above there, and it's actually a comic by one of the creators, or one of the people who works at the Computer Museum. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. You know, just trying to explain what computers are for the average person. And then I walked around and I saw some nice books, and I was like, okay, how to program Minecraft. That's one of my favorite games, so there we go. Here's Ada Lovelace once more, wearing shades, and 3D printed. I'm sure she would love knowing this. And this is actually a place that I tried to film with my 360 camera, but it just came out bad, so I took pictures of it. And this is just constantly moving and making sounds and stuff, and I don't know how to interact with it. It's very annoying. But it's made by some Tokyo artists. They make technological computer advancements, and it's really cool what they're doing. So I've got to admit, I was impressed. So I took a picture of it. There we go, even better shot of it. And this is the other part. They're basically watching Rob Ross paint, and there's 2 Photoshop programs open. And that's really how I learned how to paint, was watching Rob Ross and using Photoshop. And that's just this divider between the previous 2 programs and the Rob Ross stuff. But when I got Finished, I asked them to get me an Uber, and they did. They paid for it because I just did a ton of work for them. And as soon as I got there, I found this great video. Here, watch this. Yep. And every time somebody came in, I was like, hey, you gotta try this, you gotta try this. And it was my hook to start telling them the tables around me and how to do it. And I pretty much did that for the next 3 hours until I just got so hungry. I hadn't eaten all day. So I went and I got some Taco Del Mar, and it was tasty. And I'm going to, and then I saw this nice little thing for FeltCon, and I saw this portrait by Hyosung Jung. Yeah, there we go. And I just thought it was really cool art, and this was made by Junkyo Lee. And this is, oh, let's see the better version. I didn't know this was here, so I decided to video it. And I just looked around and I followed these steps, and I went around. Honestly, this is great stuff. And I found the arcade. I was actually told the arcade was kind of crap, and it's been disproven. Everything was working really well. I think they kind of got rid of the crap guys, because ground control seems to be on top of it this time. I'll talk to them, find out more when I'm at Portland Retro Gaming Expo. And I was just wandering around because I had just spent all day in 2 rooms, basically. I was like, no, I've got to do some wandering. I got to do some pictures. I'm at PAX. I need to do something. So I walked around and I took pictures and did stuff. And this is the console free play area, the modern console free play area, see? And here, have a video. And I don't know the sound effect, how the sound is working here, but it should be quiet. Because it was fairly quiet for me, but who knows. And that was just people playing, and then I took a picture of this because I meant to take a video. And basically put, you just hand over your ID badge or whatever this thing is for your ticket in, and they scan it and they're like, okay, now you can go in. And it's just a large room with video games in it for people to just try out and play. They've got every single modern console there: Wii U, Switch, PS4, Xbox One Pro, or Xbox One X, whatever it's called. And poor guy, he just got in the shot right at the last moment. There we go. Galaga 88. You've got to take a picture of that. You know, that's my favorite version of Galaga. And then I went into the console free play mode, and I know who put this together. Because we did it at a Seattle Retro Gaming Expo. And it's basically the retro gaming area of the show. I found out just about every game there on display was from Seattle Retro Gaming Expo, and so that was basically Surge, but it was entirely run by volunteers. I wasn't asked to be there. I was expecting to be there, but I wasn't asked. See? Proof that it was Surge. Focus! Focus! And yeah, oh, this guy. I asked if I could take his picture, and he nodded, and he let me take his picture, and then he handed me a card. And I'll show the card later, and explain what it meant and all that later on, but right now, I just thought he was really cool. He did not speak a single time. He just handed me the card and walked off. And Bill Amenda's here, so I was just like, oh, gotta find out more. And I took more pictures of the arcades I found. They were all working, so I was really impressed. And look at this carefully. Go away. somebody's computer didn't format correctly on a wall screen. And here's the modern console free play mode. And I tried filming these guys, but they just didn't do anything. I was just like, come on, you were doing all this cool stuff a moment ago. Come on. What are you doing? Don't just stand there. Do something. I'm just figuring out my buttons. No, you're not. People playing games, people playing games. Yep. And I have no idea what this picture is about, but and it was next to impossible to get a picture of this girl. She's Rainbow Bright, and she's also an enforcer. That means she's one of the volunteers that helps out the show, so I thought it was really cool. And unfortunately, where she's standing, there's just constantly people going through. And this is the free game board area, where you go in and it's just like the console free play, only it's game boards. So you go in, you're like, I want to play this, and they're like, okay, giving your tag on the thing on your lanyard, and you're in. And here's a better shot of it. See? Playtest. And this is the room I basically spent all day in. And those are the guys in charge of all the tables, and I can tell you tons of things about these tables. They're actually really nice tables. And I basically sold tables and all that. And D&D pieces are hilarious in the fact that this looks like somebody did black magic on his cat and accidentally turned it into a giant monster. You know, it's like, Harry, what did I say about black magic? Don't do it. And what happened to the cat? It's a giant dragon. Yeah. Anyway, after a while I walked home, grabbed all my stuff, except for my little car, and just continued to walk. Oh wow, it just keeps getting ruder and ruder and ruder. And got to the ferry. This is what the ferry has looked like and what they're expecting it to look like. Found out there's an Italian festival. And while I was doing my 360 tour, somebody gave me a cookie, so this is that cookie. And now we're caught up to where I am. So I will see you tomorrow.